I think a lot of folks, in fact, someone looked at my schedule the other day and saw that I was coming to a conference on transportation solutions. They said, well, why do you have to go out of state to find transportation solutions? And I think that put something in my head of maybe what we're dealing with in transportation, and something that the entire country will realize sooner or later. We're not going to be able, we're not going to be able as a country to deal with the issue of growing congestion by building our way out of it. We've been trying to do that, especially in the East and urban population centers, for maybe 2 to 3 decades. And we've ended up with the same result. We've ended up with more congestion. We've ended up with development where we really didn't want it. Not we as departments of transportation, but the residents whom we serve. That the condition which we thought was going to get better only got worse. What I can say is, and I read it in a book, and I'm going to apologize to the author because I don't remember his name, pointed out that trying to solve congestion by keep widening and expanding our system is like solving an obesity problem by buying bigger and bigger clothes. Something that you sit back and thought about it has some merit. And we at the departments are finding that using those techniques of continuous expansion and widening has a price tag on it that we can no longer afford. We can no longer afford the property that we have to buy, especially in the Northeast, where property values and an acre of property is extraordinarily expensive. And that we argue and debate with local planners if the widening of the highway and the taking of that property is the highest and best use of the property. And in the end, will our quality of lives be better? This is a turning point in transportation. We are coming to realize that we need more tools in our toolbox to solve this menace called congestion. And we're finding that there are other ways to do this. Linking transportation and land use has been out there in front of our eyes for many years now. And some forward-thinking planners have been telling us for 20 or 30 years, you should start linking transportation and land use to help you solve your congestion problem. And yet, we took the methods of the 40s, 50s, and 60s and kept trying to apply it over and over. And still hearing, I would say, that devil on our left shoulder whispering in our ear, why don't you start linking transportation and land use? And when we all think about it, what causes the number of vehicle trips that we have is how we've used our land, how we've placed development, where we have placed our schools, how we have built housing developments, and how we've constructed our system of roads and streets. Today, we're going to be hearing from folks who really know what they're talking about on this issue, who have a lot of experience, and are going to be laying out for us information that I know you will find useful in putting in your toolbox in addressing probably the most severe and menacing problem that we have in the transportation system. You will also hear of a case study during lunchtime from the commissioner in New Hampshire, Carol Murray, who was probably a little bit more ahead of the curve than all of us in this regard. And in the afternoon, we'll be having a workshop in and amongst ourselves where we can start to gather information of what kinds of problems we're confronting and what our ultimate solutions may be and how we're looking at these problems. Yes, this is a different approach. And it will not be met with open arms. We have folks at DOT in New Jersey that were bludgeoned to death when it was announced we weren't going to be doing bypass projects. And what we found that after a campaign to explain what land use linking to transportation would mean to your communities, it was embraced with open arms. Al Biehler, and Secretary of DOT in Pennsylvania, has had the same experience. I don't know who's been bludgeoned over in PENNDOT, but we'll find that out. But we're finding that communities have been waiting for these kinds of solutions and have only been met with solutions of widenings and expansions by DOTs for years. It's a difference. It's a change in how we approach our solutions. It's our statewide transportation networks and the demands that are put on it are not the same as 1950. It's time we stop using only the 1950s solutions. And that's why we're here today. A way to learn from each other and from those who have had experience in this so we can add one more tool, a viable tool in our toolbox to help us solve our problems. That's what the residents of our states demand. And in the end, that's why we're here. We've solved our problems technically, and we have literally taken our eyes and our focus off our primary target, which is the residents of our state. We've given them what we thought would be useful to them, and what we've given them is more of the same. It's time for us in transportation to take on the leadership that's going to be required and to do the salesman and saleswomanship that we have to do to have folks take a look at transportation in a different way so that we can begin to solve our problems. We're here to unleash your innovative thinking and your creativity.
The United States transportation system is aging. It needs improvement. There's a lot of work that we need to do and expand it in some cases. But at the same time, these roadways go through the communities of America. And here, particularly in the Northeast and in the New England area, we have older, well-established communities as well as on them in very close proximity to each other. So to tee up these important issues here in Philadelphia and in the Northeast, and then take what we've learned here to the rest of the United States is very opportune time. Today we're dealing with retrofitting roads, we're dealing with building roads in established communities, and we have to take great care in looking at the whole fabric of the community and doing that. I had an opportunity to head the Arizona Department of Transportation before President Bush nominated me for this job, and I used to say to my colleagues there, and I say it now nationally, we build transportation projects for the communities we serve, not in spite of them. We need to be listening and working with the communities through which these ribbons of mobility go. And to have this type of conference where we're actually sitting down and talking with each other about how we can do that better is so timely and so important.
These are the two gentlemen involved to help put this all together. How do you feel about this? What do you think came out of it today?
Well, first of all, I'm encouraged that we had a great participation, and the folks who attended really got involved in the discussions at the conference. We tried to learn from one another. We had personal experiences and also ideas of how to promote this whole agenda of linking transportation and land use. There's a lot of enthusiasm in that room, and that's what we have to try to continue. We can't let that candle burn out, and everything that we find out here today, we have to take to the next step, providing people with tools which they can implement in their own towns and in their own state. We have a long way to go. This was a first step, but I will tell you, folks in here today took a very big step.
And we are in Pennsylvania. We are where this is your home, and you were part of this. What do you think?
Well, first of all, I was pleased beyond believability. What it said it for me is there's an awful lot of people who are practicing these exact kinds of techniques that we're all sort of struggling with, and they wanted to talk about it. While Jack Lettiere and I were helped to work with the Delaware Valley Regional Planning Commission to set this up, what really happened is it was almost as if you lit a match and the whole conference took care of itself, because there was just a whole lot of experiences, whether you're talking about New Hampshire or Vermont or New Jersey or Pennsylvania or Maryland, it just came out. And Delaware was a great participant. And then we heard experiences from other consultants and other folks in other parts of the country. And what this is about is really learning from each other. And it's now being able to document these good experiences, pass them on to our staffs, being able to pass them on to other states. And so I just couldn't be more pleased with the kind of reaction that we just saw.
As a conclusion, this is the first of many?
This is the first of many. I think this is a kind of a technique and a philosophy that you can't solve, nor can you discuss in full in one meeting. This kind of intelligence has to evolve. We have to keep learning from one another. We have to learn not only where we've had success, but where we had failures, because there are things that we can learn. And I think this cookbook, this recipe, this philosophy is going to not only stay with us in the eastern states, but we like to take it across the country because we think it's got a lot of benefits for the transportation system. But more importantly, it means a lot to the people who live in this country. It really will mean a difference in the way they live and how they live. I guess we call it quality of life. It's still a great place to live, and that's what we're trying to preserve.
Congratulations. I think it's a great start.